Welcome to the 2022 Entrepreneurship at DU Base Camp Pitch Day. Right? Give it up. Very excited to spend this afternoon with you. My name is Joshua Ross. I'll be your host today. Today we are here to celebrate these 6 startups, to hear their pitches, to hear about a little bit about their journey. We are here to celebrate them, and I'm so proud of them. It's been an amazing 6 weeks, which I'll talk about in a second. So how did they get here? Well, it's been a little bit of a long road. Middle of winter, we opened up the application process. It was a 3-step process. And throughout the 3 steps, we reduced the application pool. So the first step was the actual application. And we had quite a few startups from across campus apply. We moved a select group to the next step. That was the pitch. These startups came in and talked about their vision, their idea, what they were doing. Some of these were ideas. Some of these were at the very beginning phase. Some of these actually had revenue. From that pool, we reduced it down to a smaller pool, and that was the interview phase. From that pool, we were planning on selecting 5 teams. 5 teams to participate in the Summer Accelerator. What happened was there was a lot of amazing ideas, and we couldn't just pick 5. So we ended up picking 7. These 7 teams were invited to participate in base camp. When school ended on the 13th of June, they were given quite a few tasks based on where their company was, their startup was. Was it an idea? Were they actually at revenue? They had a number of tasks to complete before we started at Summer Base Camp Accelerator on August 1st. When they started on August 1st, it was go time. So the question is, what is an accelerator? The idea around an accelerator is for a startup to accelerate their idea, to build their business. Depending on where they are in the life cycle of their business, are they looking for market validation? Are they trying to create revenue, grow revenue, or create traction? It was different for every one of these teams. What our job was simple. We gave them resources, physical space, some funding, access to equipment. In addition, we gave them mentorship and access to mentors, which a number of these mentors are out in the crowd today. Finally, we gave them access, and we brought in a number of subject matter experts around different areas of business. That's what we did. We had the easy part. What they did is they worked their butts off on their idea for 6 weeks. And what you're going to see is the result of their hard work, their energy, and their commitment. So I'm really excited to see these pitches. But before I start, or before our first pitch starts, I want to point out one person that makes this all happen. And I think she's here. She is here. This doesn't happen without her, but you never see her because it's all behind the scenes. So a big round of applause for Ashley Mercer. Well deserved. So the 3 faculty that are in charge of entrepreneurship at DU and put this whole base camp on are myself, Neil Pollard, and John Sebesta. And I had a blast working with these 2. It was very funny because we'd have mentor meetings with our startups in front. And I think sometimes they left the mentor meeting going, I don't think I got a word in edgewise, because the 3 of us were just like, what about this? What about this? What about this? But we came with different ideas, different thoughts, but we're all very much aligned. And we had one goal, to help these startups become successful. So it was a pleasure working with you two. But I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to invite our first startup to come up here. Please welcome Unite Athletics.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Lloyd, and I'm the founder of Unite Athletics, which is a consulting practice dedicated to improving athlete well-being and performance by enhancing coach-athlete relationships. Let me tell you a story about my experience as a swimmer at the University of Virginia. In 2010, I arrived on campus at UVA, having been a top 10 recruit in the country and already had swam at Olympic trials when I was 15. But at UVA, my performance really suffered. My teammates and I spent 3 years training under coaches who not only yelled at us if we swam poorly, but who did things like make us stand up on the pool deck in the middle of practice and announce if we were dating anyone on the men's team. And they were so obsessed with our weight that we had to tell them how much we weighed multiple times a week. And if that number changed, they'd make comments like, "Yeah, I can see it in your legs." Imagine being 18 and having to show up at practice every single day, twice a day, for 2 hours, terrified of what your coaches were going to do or say next. This was my experience, and sadly, I'm not alone. Up to 75% of college-age athletes experience behaviors like this from their coaches, and 15% of athletes on scholarship quit every year. So why are so many college athletes unhappy with this experience that they've trained their entire lives for? I believe that my coaches and others like them did not intentionally harm my teammates or me. I believe that they didn't have the emotional intelligence or the skills necessary to communicate effectively. Fast forward to 2016, I started working at the One Love Foundation teaching healthy relationship education. I spent 6 years traveling around the country, leading workshops about the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships with partners like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Seattle Seahawks, and Ohio State Athletics. It is here that I really recognized the importance of emotional intelligence as the route to practicing healthy behaviors. So I founded Unite because I believe that through emotional intelligence, we can build healthier coach-athlete relationships and help athletes reach their full potential. When you look at the coach-athlete relationship, unlike healthy romantic relationships or healthy friendships, even at its healthiest, there's a power dynamic here. So we believe that by focusing on the person with more power in this relationship, the coach, that's how we improve the relationship. Our theory is that if we can increase coaches' emotional intelligence, we can help them tap into the leadership skills they already have, which will improve coach-athlete relationship satisfaction and therefore athlete well-being and performance. There's secondary research to support each step within this theory, but the one I get asked about most often is the connection between coach-athlete relationships and performance. So for that, I'll tell you about one study done of NBA players in 2006 that showed that players who performed under abusive coaches not only performed poorly in those years measured by their stats, but that their entire career trajectory went down in comparison to their peers. So what is Unite doing to fix this? Our goal is to really give coaches the tools they need to change their unintentional but unhealthy behaviors into intentional and effective behavior. We do this as a 3-step process. First, we assess. When we work at the school, we have every athlete take a survey that measures coach-athlete relationship satisfaction using something called leader-member exchange, or LMX for short. We also measure the likelihood that athletes will transfer or quit within the next year. Teams that we see red flags from, so a high percentage of athletes who plan on leaving or low LMX scores across the board, we then interview both athletes and coaches on those teams to learn more about the why behind some of those numbers. Then we move to step 2, which is educate. We work with the coaches to educate them on these 4 areas of emotional intelligence. Self-awareness and managing emotions helps coaches recognize their emotions and better understand their own behavior. Empathy and social skill helps them better relate to their own players. And then we move to stage 3, which is apply. We work with coaches to practice including these skills in their everyday lives. So we role play one-on-one or group meetings with players, and we give them tools they can incorporate into their everyday lives after we leave. What I just described is about a 4 to 6 week intensive with a team, but we know that's often not enough to change behavior. So our real goal is to have annual partnerships with these schools where we do this 4 to 6 week intensive, but we also add things like monthly check-ins with the coach to answer any of their questions and make sure they're where they want to be. We continue to collect data so we can start to see things in numbers that might not show up in person. And we repeat this 4 to 6 week intensive whenever there's a coach turnover or a real big team turnover, so every 2 to 4 years. We believe that this work really bridges the gap between 2 really problematic issues right now in college athletics. The first one is athlete mental health. So since March of this past year, 5 NCAA student athletes have died by suicide. And 6 swimmers from Cal Berkeley came out in May and said that they contemplated suicide as a direct result of their coach's abusive behavior. So it seems that the connection between athlete mental health and coach behavior might be there. The second issue is athlete retention. So with the new transfer portal, athletes are transferring at higher rates than they have because there's no punishment on their end necessarily. So we're seeing increased transfer rates. In the last NCAA well-being survey, 8% of athletes, which is over 36,000 athletes, said that they were likely to transfer within the next year. And of female athletes, over half of them cited their number 1 reason for transferring was a conflict with their coach or team. So we are really in the middle of these 2 problems, bridging both gaps by solving for coach-athlete relationships. There's also a financial incentive for athletic departments to invest in this work before it hurts them. Since 2013, these schools you see on this slide have paid a combined over $2 million in civil lawsuits related to coach abuse. This money has gone to not only victims and obviously lawyers, but also to coaches in the years after they were already fired for abusive behavior. So clearly athletic departments have a financial reason to invest in this as well as an ethical one. So we're really excited to share that we completed our first pilot about a week and a half ago with a Division II men's soccer team. We went through that same process I mentioned. We measured with pre-surveys. We continued to assess with interviews with both coaches and athletes. We educated, and then we did an application workshop, and then we measured with post surveys. What we found is that we were able to increase the head coach relationship satisfaction score by about 10% and the assistant coach score by about 4%. Now, we actually are really happy with these numbers because our entire application workshop was focused only on the head coach behavior, not the assistant coach behavior. We did have some learnings. The biggest thing was that this workshop was over 2.5 weeks instead of the 4 to 6 weeks that I mentioned. So moving forward, we really see the importance of sticking to that timeline and making sure that we're doing that 4 to 6 week intensive moving forward. And also we realized the importance of revisiting the emotional intelligence workshop at the beginning of the application workshop to ensure that coaches are fully bought in. But the coolest part to me about this pilot was hearing the qualitative feedback we got from the athletes. They shared things like their head coach seems calmer than before, less impulsive. He's asking them about non-soccer related things, which is something they asked for directly. He seems a lot more personable. My favorite, my coach's behavior change helped me gain self-confidence in the sport. So now that we kind of see that this is starting to work, we feel like the opportunity is really endless. There's almost 1,100 NCAA schools and 20,000 teams we could potentially work with. And in addition to that, about half of teams see coach turnover within a 4-year period. So that means that we could work with each of these teams at least every 4 years. And that's only college athletics. So where are we now and where are we going? We're right now in the pilot and data collection phase, which I'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide. But our goal is to, by June of this year, through pilots, increase our coach-athlete relationship satisfaction score by up to 20% from the 10% it is in our first pilot. We also want to be able to have 4 paid partnerships with schools by June of 2023. We know there's a scalable model here somewhere. We see the potential for, after doing this over and over again, recognizing the patterns and turning this into maybe a coach certification program, maybe an HR platform for administrators, maybe a virtual education of some sort. The opportunities there could be really huge, but for right now, we're just focused on doing the work to get there. So what do we need? Like I said, the 2 things we're focusing right now in this stage are collecting more data and piloting. When it comes to data collection, we really need to keep proving that we're solving the right problem, start getting those LMX scores from teams and more athletes across the country. So we are looking for athletic administrators who will be willing to take part in that first assessment piece of our work and give us access to their athletes to take our survey. So if anyone in this audience has any connections to athletic administrators, we'd love to work with them. Secondly, we need more pilots. Specifically, we need 1 more pilot this fall and 2 over the spring. We found these pilots are normally best in the coach's off season. So for our fall pilot, we're looking for spring sports like lacrosse or baseball, coaches who might be interested. And for the 2 spring pilots, we're looking for fall sports to work with. These coaches also need to be really interested in this work and learning and growing and see value in it. So because they're not being told to do it by their athletic department. So we're looking for usually young coaches who are looking to grow and get better in their work. So again, if anyone out here knows any college coaches who fit this mold, we'd love to talk to them. So at the end of the day, we know this works because we've experienced it. In the story I told earlier, after 3 years at UVA, of my time at UVA, the coaches I mentioned were fired and were replaced with coaches who I was able to build a really trusting and positive relationship with. My last year of college, I swam faster than ever, and I fell in love with the sport again, so much so that I've been coaching every year since. At Unite, we truly believe that athletes can excel in their sport and love their experience at the same time, and that their coaches want this for them too. They just need the right environment to do so. Thank you.
All right. That is starting us off. Our next startup that I would love to introduce is Mezzanine. Give them a big round of applause.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to invite you to join me for an experience this afternoon. Your closest friend calls you, it's Friday afternoon, and sends you an address for a gallery opening. 5 p.m. rolls around, you walk into the gallery, what seems like a gallery. You hear a champagne bottle pop upstairs, just what you need after a long week. You look to your left, and you see a ceramic studio with the wheels turning and a little bit of mud flinging. To the other side of the lobby, it is a happy hour celebrating a new brand agency. You feel the energy flowing, you smell the hors d'oeuvres wafting through the lobby. What is this place? This is the Mezzanine, focused on improving the accessibility in studios in the Denver area for artists and creatives alike. Welcome to the Mezzanine. I'm Julianne, an MBA student and the founder of Mezzanine. In 2018, I moved to Park City, Utah, and had such rose-colored glasses on. I started working at St. Regis in Deer Valley as a food and beverage manager. For a place that's glamorized for fun, I did not have so much fun. I did not spend as much time skiing as I had suspected. And what I ended up falling in love with about this place was a ceramic studio. I found a community of creatives that were always there in between my work and home. These creatives were starting their creative journey alongside me or selling down in Moab. It was a phenomenal experience to have such a wide range of creatives next to me. I moved back to Denver in 2019, and what I find is that this was a hidden gem. I found that there were long wait times for these ceramic studios in Denver. There were $100 per classes. And ultimately, when I finally got into a studio, after a minor inconvenience of COVID, there was not a community whatsoever that I had in Park City. When I started this program for Base Camp, I was speaking to other artists and realized this is a much bigger issue than just for ceramicists. Artists in residencies that are ending in October after 2 years currently don't have anywhere to go to create afterwards. They're hyper-focused on finding a studio. Ceramicists that are getting their degree and graduating at the end of this school year also have nowhere to go. They have the same resources I had in 2019. So, why is this so important right now to have a community of creatives? Not only are there millions of dollars being injected into the cultural and arts community in Denver to recover after COVID, it was once an almost $2 billion economic impact for Denver. In addition to this, a lot of us experience a work from home culture. We're slightly isolated, as well as not being connected as we once were. So why is art so important? Art has been shown to open the reward pathways in your brain, to connect you, reduce anxiety and depression, while connecting you to something a little bit larger. This is where Mezzanine Creative comes in. So, who was in that ceramic studio as you were walking in on a Friday night? This is Laura. She just graduated with a ceramics degree, is working at a coffee shop, and keeps getting the question, what are you doing with an art degree? And she doesn't really have an answer right now. She finds the mezzanine and ultimately starts taking classes. She finds her passion again after a long week working at the coffee shop and starts teaching someone else. This person is Anthony. Anthony works at the branding agency that was having the happy hour on that Friday night. He grew up doing arts and hasn't really found a place yet in Denver. He's also so tired of going to the Friday night trivias at the breweries and wants something else to do. So, at the beginning of the 6 weeks, Mezzanine was just a concept. At this point, we've hosted 3 pop-ups for ceramic classes to fulfill this need that have been a great success. Next step is creating a mobile ceramic studio to make it a little bit more affordable for the guests, members, as well as with the current rent prices. We'll be partnering with local coffee shops, breweries, and gallery spaces that have underutilized real estate space at the moment to really bring in more profits for them, as well as create the space for the artist. This is going to be a membership base or drop-in, just like a gym membership. So after a few of the pop-ups that we had over the last 6 weeks, a lot of the comments related about having community, a free expression of their art after a really strong week of stress. It's a great outlet. And on the bottom left, you see one of the comments from a ceramicist that is graduating at the end of the year, and they have no idea what they're doing at the end of this school year. So going back to the vision at the beginning, how do we get there? This is going to be a community space for all creatives, from agencies to full-time artists, gallery curators, and anyone in between. This is going to host workshops, educational sessions, and just overall event space that the whole community can come to. Again, this will be membership or drop-in base, just like a gym membership. So what we need to get to phase 2 is if you or anyone you know has any real estate that they'd like to lease out or partnerships that might come into play, such as galleries, breweries, or coffee shops that have underutilized space during non-peak times, I'd love to speak with them. So I'd love to connect with everyone, and thank you so much for being here.
Well done, Julianne. All right. Our next startup, and I know his family's in the audience, so he's getting ready to impress them, is Rags to Wags. Please welcome Evan.
All right, thank you guys. As he said, we're Rags to Wags. We make ultra sustainable dog beds that are made to look cool and be super environmentally friendly. Okay, as many of us know, the world has a plastic problem, but really how bad is it? So as of now, we're producing around 300 million tons of plastic each year, which is about a Honda Pilot for half of the drivers in the United States. But the worst part about this is half of this is single-use plastic. So an average plastic bag that you see at a grocery store or at a convenience store has a working life of around 15 minutes, meaning it's only going to serve the purpose to you, the consumer, for less than an hour. Yet the same bag can take 1,000 years to decompose. And when it decomposes, it actually just enters our ecosystem as microplastics. Let me go back to that, which leads to us eating around 40 pounds of plastic in our life cycle, which is around 40,000 worms. And I don't think anyone in here would eat 40,000 worms. Okay, so what about recycling, right? It's supposed to be a closed loop. That's what we've been told. Plastic is used, then it's recycled, and it comes back to us. This is not the case. Less than 9% of plastic worldwide is recycled, and this number is just falling. This is mainly due to cost, as it's cheaper for manufacturers to produce more plastic instead of collecting, cleaning, sorting, and reusing plastic. And part of the reason this is so difficult is the misinforming labels that have been put on plastic to facilitate this misinformation. All right, so a little bit about myself. I'm from Boulder, Colorado originally. Boulder, as many of us may know, is a very eco-conscious place. So I was always brought up around the ideas of turning the lights off when you leave the room and shutting the tap off as you're brushing your teeth. I'm also a dog owner, if you could have guessed. And a couple photos of my dog there. Her name's Callie, she's great. I'm also an avid adventurer. I love to snowboard, cliff jump, camp, and whenever I have free time, I'm probably outside doing something. I'm also a restaurant worker since 2016, or since I was 16, pardon me. I've been working in the restaurant and I noticed a problem. Everything was coming to the restaurant in plastic and everything that was eaten or wasted was leaving in it. This was only exacerbated by COVID-19 when I was working in a retirement home and I noticed how much PPE gear we had to use. Though it did serve a very important purpose, it was tremendous. Like I probably went through around 20 pairs of latex gloves an hour just to maintain a safe environment. So as I moved to DU, I continued my ideals of consuming sustainably. And I found the Goodwill Outlet World. This is the perfect place for students. It's a pay by the pound thrift store. So it's very cheap and you can get a lot for a little. Here I found a community of sustainable consumers and I had a realization. I realized you don't need to buy things new for them to be nice or for them to last you a lifetime. Around this time, I also found out about upcycling. This is the idea of taking one thing that serves a certain purpose and finding a new purpose to give it a whole new life cycle. I noticed that tons of clothes were still being left in bins after rotations and going back to the back to be thrown away. The reasons for this were endless, partly being fit. People just be like, oh, this pair of pants is too big for me. No one's gonna wear a size, whatever. And then stains. Some fabric is great, but might have one big stain on the front, making people not want it. Also, brand names. Plenty of stuff is perfectly fine, but it doesn't have the right tag, so it just goes to waste. Last summer, I began thinking about how I could fix these issues through business. This started a journey that took me through multiple products and introduced me to many great people. Where are we at? Okay, so let's start with what I landed on. These dog beds that you see here are stuffed with plastic that we gathered from a couple different sources. So firstly, we have Aspen Seating Ride and Design, which is an orthopedic seating place that does wheelchairs and other seating options for like high-level athletes. And so they CNC big blocks of open cell foam to produce like one-of-a-kind custom backs. This process, though it does support many great people, has a very large waste. So we help them offset that through our process. And then we also get plastic through the Denver Surgery Center. And then we shred it down and make a great filling for our bags. The other part of what we do is the covers. So the inner bag is going to be made out of a durable organic cotton canvas, which is going to make it dog proof. So it will give you a peace of mind that your dog's not getting into it. Also, as I've mentioned, the fabric is coming from Goodwill. So each one of these looks very different. And that means that you can pick and choose what really fits your house best. Clothing waste is also a massive issue in the United States, so this is facilitating closing that cycle as well. And the covers are removable and machine washable, so they will last a very long time. Hand sewn in Denver, Colorado, and we hope to bring jobs to the DU community soon enough once sewing club's back in operation. All right, finding market fit, right? So like I talked about with our stuffing, many things in this world are stuffed. So finding the correct product to stuff was kind of a difficult thing. Where we started was beanbags, and the biggest issue with this was the weight. Too much was going into one bag, and they were just going to be unsustainable to ship. Alongside, nobody over 30 really sits in a beanbag, and nobody under 30 has that big of a disposable income. So we switched a little bit. We pivoted. We moved from beanbags to dog beds, which are obviously smaller. And one thing we really realized about dog owners when we went out and talked to people who like to go outside with their dog, and people who like to go outside want the outside areas to be clean. So there's a trend that sustainability falls within dog ownership. Okay, we also have our commitment. So as I was trying to find, feedback from our market, a big thing was lifelong guarantees. The most expensive high-end products that people are willing to pay for, the reason they're paying for it is the fact that they're buying one and that's going to last them forever. So I think we should commit to that. So part of that is our restuffing policy. So on the inner canvas, there's a zipper so that if your bed ever goes flat from too much use, we can send you new plastic and bring your bag back to life. We're also offering 25% off outside covers. So if you buy one and you want to freshen up your space, maybe you want to do one for a holiday or a certain season, then you get 25% off that first purchase. Okay, an unfulfilled need. This is just some, data, and 96% of the people we surveyed said that they wish sustainable furniture was more accessible. So we're making it happen. Traction. So we already have around 15 pre-orders online, and we're in the works with Taj Mahal, which is in Highlands Park, Denver, to get in their stores. And then we're also getting quality feedback from our industry experts, a couple of them pictured here. So let's talk about market size. The total addressable market for pet furniture is around 3.4 million and is growing at a rate of 6.5%. And pet toys, which we're looking to get into, is around 2.5 billion and is growing at a rate of 5.8%. Okay, competition. I'm not going to read through all of this, but one trend you'll see is a lot of no's on everybody else and a lot of yes on ours. Maybe I'm biased. Okay, so here's the ask. If you want to join the waiting list, we're making them as fast as we can. It's really just me and a couple other dudes right now. So if you don't want to wait, we're hiring seamstresses. So reach me at my email or my number and we'll get a job application to you. Thank you guys.
All right. Our next startup, the last time I believe she was up here pitching, she won the pitch competition for Entrepreneurship Week, right? All right, so please welcome Illegal Oats. Next generation of entrepreneurs joining us from the Rick School.
All right. Hello, my name is Claire Wetzel. And for the past year and a half, I've been eating bugs. In fact, it won't be long before each and every one of you are eating bugs as well. And in just a couple years, insects will be on every restaurant menu and every grocery store shelf in the US. Let me introduce you to a new term, a food print. A food print is basically a carbon footprint, but it measures the amount of impact that a food has on the environment. The bigger the food print, the bigger the environmental impact. Beef has the absolute highest food print there is. And mealworms, the bugs I eat, among the lowest. This is because of mealworms' low resource use and low greenhouse gas emission. Mealworms create 1% of the environmental impact that beef does and contains 250% of the protein. Our population is growing. Our population is expected to reach 9 billion by 2050. Even with this growing population, each and every one of us will still need the basic nutrients to maintain healthy bodies. Mealworms have a much superior nutritional profile than beef. This is because of their fiber, protein, and healthier fats. This is how we can reduce our dependence on meat. And this is how we are going to feed 9 billion people. A little over a year ago, I started Illegal Oats, which is dedicated to normalizing insects. Illegal Oats' mission is to provide Americans with easy access to edible insects in order to foster a more sustainable and healthier food system. We produce 3 flavors of Ento granola. Ento granola is granola enriched with a high concentration of mealworm powder. We have cranberry orange, honey nut, and chocolate. Chocolate here is my favorite. It has a cacao powder base and vegan chocolate chips. Honey nut is our best seller. It is sweetened only by local honey and contains almonds, pecans, and sunflower seeds. Cranberry orange is our most unique. It has pecans and cranberries, as well as fresh orange zest. By powdering the mealworms, customers cannot see, taste, or smell any insects, but they're still getting all the environmental and health benefits. One customer described this as hiding vegetables in your dessert, and I couldn't have said it better myself. By slipping that powder into popular foods, the idea of eating insects becomes much less intimidating. When we first set out to release these flavors, we had no idea what the public reaction would be, as you can imagine. But we had this hypothesis that people would be able to get over this cultural disgust of insects enough to actually want to buy and eat edible insect products. And our hypothesis was correct. Our first day, we sold 24 12-ounce bags. And today, we have sold 545 pounds to both directly to consumer and to 4 different retailers. Most of the time, we notice that at the farmer's market and selling directly to the consumer, customers are already comfortable coming up and approaching illegal oats, already being comfortable eating insects. However, sometimes you have the hesitant customer who is kind of resistant to trying a sample, but then we're able to convince them they love the sample and end up buying a bag. And these are the most rewarding sales, especially because they're a confirmation that our hypothesis was correct. People want to become comfortable eating insects and embrace the food of the future. These are just 3 of the many 5-star reviews Illegal Oats receives regularly. People love the lean protein and environmental benefits that Illegal Oats offers. Also, people love that it's locally made and made with natural ingredients. Our typical customer is in their 30s, married, lives an active lifestyle, and usually has a college degree. These are the protein contents in 1 cup of each of Illegal Oats flavors. Not only is it extremely high and higher than other granola brands, it's coming from a completely natural source. It's coming from the insects and the nuts. This is Illegal Oats compared to 2 other healthy premium granola brands. As you can see, it has much higher protein and much lower sugar than the others. There's a growing demand for these brands. Healthy granola brands are expected to experience the most of this 5.4% annual growth for the granola market. The edible insect market is growing as well. And in this market, Illegal Oats has a competitive advantage. It's the only real food staple that can help us transition to a more sustainable diet. Customers have put Illegal Oats in many different recipes. The most common are acai bowls, parfaits, and cereals. These are our sales over the past year. We have increased our sales this year by 300% with the success of the Highlands Farmers Market, developing regulars, and increasing retail space. Returning customers now make up about 25% of daily farmers market sales, and some are coming back for the 5th and 6th time. These are our margins for each sales channel. Most of our sales are directly to the consumer. We also sell wholesale to 4 different retailers. All 4 buy wholesale packaged, and one of them buys both bulk and packaged. Looking forward, Illegal Oats is going to start workshopping granola bars, which are the biggest suggestion among customers. Also, we're going to continue working on increasing retail space, getting into more retailers with the goal of getting into natural grocers by the end of the year. Next farmers market season, we're going to add a location. In addition to the Highlands Farmers Market, we'll have a booth at the Pearl Street Farmers Market. Ultimately, there's great potential in shifting to a completely B2B model, where we sell mealworm powder directly to food manufacturers and restaurants. Right now, I'm looking for an equity stake co-founder with complementary skills to mine. This includes a financial background, experience with finance, detail-oriented, organized, and a passion for sustainability. And of course, my partner also has to be comfortable eating bugs. Our food system is broken. And what's worse is that we have no plan yet to turn it around. Insects are the solution. When we say yes to insects, we say yes to a brighter future for our planet. It starts with us in this room. Starts today. It starts with illegal oats. Thank you.
You'll need both of these. So one note, illegal oats and the next two consumer packaged goods startups, their food will be on display and for you to all sample. So you must try all of them. They're all quite good. Before we get to the next group, I'd be remiss and also point out two other people that came back early to help support Base Camp, cut their summer short, and had been at the garage running every type of errand, every type of task, being in the background, never complaining, just doing an awesome job. And one will be your bartender downstairs during the reception. Big hand for David and Justin. Yeah. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Okay, get ready to get amped up for our next group. Here's Chigo.
Hey everybody, my name's Andrew Moore. I grew up here in the Denver area under entrepreneurs and ever since have been bitten by the entrepreneurship bug, so I don't think I can ever leave it. I'm a co-founder of Chigo, and I'll let Jason go ahead and explain what that means.
Yeah, of course, as Andrew said, I'm the other co-founder of Chigo. I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest. I love the outdoors. I come from a family of small business owners and entrepreneurs, and let's do it. So the first thing we want to talk to you about today is called the afternoon slump, and it is indeed a real thing. As reported by Business Insider from the Journal of Neuroscience, your circadian rhythm between the hours of 12 and 4 starts to bottom out. You lose that focus, you get sleepy, you become less attentive, and overall less productive. This has informed our research. And what we found from this research is that the majority of Americans consume their coffee in the morning. Now, we know there are some guys in here that own a coffee company, and we know that morning coffee is a bit of a religion. We imagine you all drink morning coffee, and we'll never capture that majority. But consumers in the afternoon turn to a solution, and those solutions come in the form of energy drinks and sodas. And there are two problems with both of those. One, they're full of added sugars that lead to another crash, and two, they're full of chemicals that lead to a plethora of side effects and fatigue. So I'm going to tell you about a new emerging trend called Better For You beverage. What Better For You beverage is it's a new sector that's taking classic RTD beverages and adding new health benefits in it. This can be as simple as doing lower sugar, adding natural ingredients, and doing clean caffeine instead of added caffeine. So what's the problem with that? Well, a lot of competitors are not being very transparent with their new Better For You beverage options. So really quickly, we know this slide is a mess, but that is intentional. So we're going to look at these top two energy drinks. This is the Monster and Red Bull, two classic ingredients. And when you look at these ingredient lists, they look pretty scary. I'll read off one for you, acesulfam. I have no idea what that is. If anybody can tell me what that is after, I'll give you $10. And now I want you to take a look at this Monster Zero Ultra and the Red Bull Zero. These are their Better For You solutions. They still look pretty scary in my opinion. And to the keen observer, you'll really just notice that all they've done is they've taken out the sugar and replaced it with a chemical alternative. Now let's go look over at Chigo's ingredients. We like to say there's no BS added in our product. And when you read these ingredients, you know them. There's cinnamon, cloves, ginger, nutmeg, cardamom. These are all things that you might have in your kitchen at home right now. So this is really what is, this gets me to ChaiGo's ready to drink solution. So we're a canned beverage, ready to drink. We use authentic flavors and spices. It's low sugar, caffeinated, recyclable, and there's no dietary restrictions. Not only does ChaiGo come with that clean caffeine boost, but it also has a plethora of other health benefits due to these spices and ginger. It can help you lose weight. It can help improve your heart health and cholesterol. It even controls blood sugar levels, as well as reduces nausea and improves digestion. So we want to tell you a little bit about what Shake It, Drink It, Go means. That's our mantra at ChaiGo, and we think it kind of encompasses the history and the future of ChaiGo. So a little history lesson really quickly. Chai originates from India as a traditional home brewed beverage. It came to the United States and was popularized from Starbucks all the way down to the local coffee houses. So you've got the largest industry players all the way down to those local mom and pop shops popularizing ChaiGo. It's everywhere. It's sold in every coffee shop across America. And then finally, over the last couple of years, chai concentrates and chai tea bags have taken the consumer market by storm by giving consumers the ability to take it home and kind of revolutionizing the chai market. With ChaiGo, the future is go. And what that means is we want a chai that is readily available everywhere and that you can get anywhere. So who actually cares about this? Well, these are the consumers that we believe care about the future of ChaiGo and care about a ready-to-drink ChaiGo. And I'm going to start by telling you a little story of how this all happened, and it's my story. So about 2 years ago, I dropped out of college to go travel the United States because I just wasn't vibing with school then. And I went hiking, I went driving around the country, just doing lots of outdoor activities. And I've never been the biggest coffee guy. And what I quickly realized is I needed a caffeine alternative. And the last thing I wanted to do before I went on a hike early in the morning was, drink one of those energy drinks or sodas. So I turned to chai. The next thing I realized very quickly on is that there is no chai ready to drink. I would have to go to a Starbucks and, unfortunately, there isn't a Starbucks out in the woods out at Grand Teton National Park. So it makes it a little harder. So who cares about the chai for the future? We've got our college kids, those 18 to 24-year-olds, those caffeine cravers. They're dependent on a parent's income. They have poor sleep schedules and demanding schedules. They're the late night grinders that need that boost. Next, we have the professional millennial, 25 to 40-year-old, and we call them the granola crowd. They work from home or in a corporate setting. They suffer from that afternoon slump due to their busy work schedules, and they're early adopters / curious consumers. Finally, we have our weekend warriors. Those are our 45 to 60-year-old consumers. We call them the Patagonians. They're those outdoorsy people starting to go into retirement. They're health-conscious consumers. They exercise. They care about what they put in their body. They care about their sleep. They're not just these college kids putting back all these energy drinks anymore. They're environmentally and sustainably aware, and they're curious about the other natural benefits other than just that clean caffeine. So now that I've told you a little bit about ChaiGo's vision and mission, what we're all about, here's Andrew to tell you a little bit about the back end of our business.
So Jason came to a class I was also in winter quarter of last year, January, and he pitched his idea to me. He told me about his story, and I really resonated with it. I thought that was super cool. So I jumped aboard, and we started ChaiGo in January as a class project and brought it beyond the class after that. Since then, we've sold 600 cans of ChaiGo here on campus. It's a little bit of a teaser. Now, if you know anything about the beverage industry, you're not really allowed to sell beverage unless it's produced in a commercial kitchen or by a co-packer. So we're breaking the rules a little bit, but it's all under the guise of an entrepreneurship project. Beyond that, we've seen organic sales. In the last 3 months, we've seen a huge jump in Instagram followership. We see customers who've bought it here as not totally legitimate product quite yet, who are asking for more despite our ability to deliver quite yet. We've conducted a few surveys, and about 90% of those survey respondents are like, oh my gosh, I love the flavor of your chai. I want more, I want more. And we've also heard verbal feedback such as, I normally don't like chai, but the flavor of yours actually really worked for me. We've also heard feedback that we're willing to change for, such as your branding's really simple right now, especially if you're an energy drink. Why don't you make it pop a little bit more? So that's coming in the future. So I've told you that we can sell our product. Our product resonates with people, they'll buy it, they'll pay dollars for it. But what's the opportunity? How much chai can we really sell? Well, just in annual sales of ready-to-drink coffee and tea products in the United States, you see a market value of $23 billion. That seems big. It's okay. It's not crazy. But that's just a subsection of the $920 billion of ready-to-drink products that are non-alcoholic. And that's just a subsection of the $1.3 trillion of all ready-to-drink products. We've also learned a little bit from Market Research's annual report for 2021. They say a few things. Consumers are demanding healthier products. They want something that's not going to impact their sleep. They want something that's going to reduce their fatigue. They want something that's actually good for them. They want to know what they're putting in their body. Additionally, by 2025, the market for energy drinks and sports drinks is going to jump all the way up to $35 billion. That's a huge jump from today. And they're our closest indirect competitor. We're here to take the opportunity that the newer better for you beverage industry has to present. That is CHIGO. We do better for you beverage better than anybody else does better for you beverage. Lots of betters in there. So I've told you guys about the big opportunity, but what really goes into a can right now? Right now, one can of CHIGO is a little pricey for us. It costs us $1.52. That seems a little daunting. That seems really large, but it's still under our wholesale price of $2 and well under our retail price of $4. But the promise here is that that number is going to decrease. Right now, we're not sourcing ingredients in bulk quantity. We're not sourcing packaging in bulk quantity. And we're not able to run large quantities of our product through a co-packer quite yet, all of which decrease the unit price or the unit cost of our product. We're really simple. I want to show you guys what we really do. So we start by gathering traction. We'll always be doing that. But we do that before we even decide to run our product. We want to make sure we can sell it and that people like it before we make it. So like you've seen us do thus far, we measure traction, make sure people like it, and we'll continue to do so as we iterate our product, change recipes, add product mixes, things like that. By then we know we can make it. So we send it to a beverage brewer we send a recipe to a beverage brewer and we have them brew our chai concentrate. That's where you get those whole spices. That's the only thing that is in our product, whole spices, just like Jason said, what you might have in your kitchen. The beverage brewer sends that to a co-packer. The co-packer is going to mix that with an oat milk or another plant-based milk. You might be doing something fun in the future. And they mix it and put it in cans. They label the cans and make them ready for the consumer. By then, we'll be distributing it. At first, Jason and I will be distributing it to a list of stores, retailers, possibly even ski resorts that sell ready-to-drink beverages. Then we'll hand it off to a professional distributor as we grow. And lastly, we repeat that and grow. We want to make sure we do this over and over again, especially measuring traction to make sure our products are always validated. A year from startup, CHIGO has a big goal. Our goal is by January to have our first production run, small but mighty, run through a co-packer, complete and ready to be distributed. So January, we'll pick that up from a co-packer. After that, Jason and I will be driving around town through Denver, through the Front Range, into the mountains, distributing our products to small stores, markets, retailers, and we'll be doing some direct-to-consumer sales as well. Lastly, we'll be, again, repeating, scaling, and growing. This might be finding funding from friends and family or beyond. This might be adding flavors to our product mix. This might be hiring a professional distributor. It will probably definitely be that. And so on and so forth. So you guys have sat through 5 of the 6 presentations here and the Basecamp final pitch display. And what we're really wanting to showcase is that we're not done here. We want to keep going. CHIGO is going to continue to grow, establish itself, and run product. So we're asking for network expansion. If you guys know anybody in these sectors, anyone with this experience, or you know somebody who knows somebody else who knows another person, we'd love to connect with them. Thank you so much for listening to our pitch, and here's further contact information for you.
Okay, our final pitch of the afternoon. At the conclusion of this pitch, we have a short panel which we'll have all of our startups come up and tell you what they really thought of Basecamp. So please stick around for that as well. I'd like to introduce Good Love.
I really hope no one's thirsty or hungry yet because this is only going to make it worse. So, did you know that 1 in 10 people in the US right now are ditching gluten? No, really, they are. That's the gluten-free eaters. And in this room, maybe like 5-ish, 6-ish, 6.5 people, could be more, are eating gluten-free. But I'm going to show you how our brand, Good Love Foods, will appeal to those who are gluten-free eaters, as well as those who are regular wheat eaters. Today, I'm first going to show you and explain why going gluten-free is such a big deal. But I'm also going to show you how through our products, we're solving the solution one delicious bite at a time. So let me introduce myself. I'm Chanel DeYoung, and I recently graduated from the MBA program here at the University of Denver. But on top of being an MBA, thank you, I'm also a leader. I'm obsessed with CPG brands, love it. I'm a celiac and I love to bake. But really, when it came down to what my true passion was, I knew it was food. I've always known it was food. And I believe that the best food experiences are those that are simple and, of course, delicious. So when it came time to launching Good Love Foods, I was happy to leave all the other companies behind. And now I am the founder of Good Love Foods. So I'm not quite sure if you got the memo yet, but I love food. Food is my passion. So I'm going to pose a little scenario to you right now. Just imagine you're in your kitchen, you've got a hot oven, delicious smells, butter, toasty deliciousness are just wafting out, and you've got a fresh batch of cinnamon rolls just, sitting on the counter. You pick one up, you're smiling. But imagine suddenly it's just gone, literally like bam, like someone smacks it out of your hands. First, I'm sure you're like, okay, who is this person? Second, you're probably like, well, this really sucks. You're left angry, you're left hungry, and you're left wondering what to do next. So the disruptor I'm talking about is gluten. Gluten is the protein found in wheat, barley, and rye, and it's what gives baked goods their quintessential fluffiness and chewiness. So the big deal about going gluten-free is that often baked goods that are labeled as gluten-free have a really bad stigma. They're crumbly, they contain unwanted ingredients, and they often leave you just feeling like you want more, which is a really big disservice to the 1 billion people in the US that have been diagnosed with celiac disease, including myself and my partner, who must maintain a gluten-free diet at all times. On top of that, 6% have been diagnosed with an intolerance. But what's really interesting is that 3% in the US are just choosing to eat gluten-free. What does this mean? This means over 33 million people in the US now choose GF. So as we conducted more research, these were 4 of our top pain points we identified through our consumers. When it comes to baked goods, there was really limited selections that they preferred. And if they found anything that they liked, often they felt that there was a little bit of trust missing. Maybe there was some cross-contamination. They thought it was low quality. Maybe it had really bad ingredients or was highly processed. And ultimately, they just felt like the food industry didn't understand their problem. But on the flip side, what we also realized through our research is that what our consumers are really wanting is a total experience. What does this mean? This means they want safety. They want products that are versatile. They want something that is easy and quick and convenient, but ultimately delicious. Which leads me to our solution. We combined frozen and gluten-free, and now we have a win-win product. Good Love Foods is the next era of frozen. Our products are gluten-free, frozen, and ready-to-bake staples such as buttermilk biscuits, cinnamon rolls with icing, and puff pastry, items you just really never see anywhere. Our products bridge the gap between fresh made and between scratch made and ready-baked products, and they truly deliver that at-home baking experience that our gluten-free GF eaters have been missing. On top of that, we really value transparency, which is why we have these clear packages. Our lay flat patches make it easy for anyone to see the goods inside, which is just good love. And I know everyone's probably getting really hungry by now, but our products only contain the highest ingredients as well. And on top of being gluten-free, they're nut-free, egg-free, and soy-free. And these beautiful, delicious photos, I promise you, anyone can take our products and become a successful gluten-free baker at home. The last piece to the puzzle and to our solution was really letting our customers know that we understood their problem. And that is represented here by our celiac seal of approval. This is our mission to destigmatize what it means to be gluten-free by providing food that just is celiac safe and happens to be gluten-free. Now, what does that mean for Good Love Foods entering the market? Well, it's a perfect time because as you can see, sales in the US for the gluten-free food market are expected to reach $6.5 billion by the end of this year. That might not seem much, but from a macro perspective, the CAGR rating is expected to reach 10% by 2030. And what's even more interesting is that frozen food sales with products labeled gluten-free were among the top market drivers, which contributed 10% of department sales in frozen food aisles. Now, when you go to the frozen food aisles, this is the competition that we're up against. You've got some of the mainstays. You've got Katz, you've got Udi's, you've got Schar's, Glutino. But what our product offers is truly that at-home baking experience that none of these offer as well. Plus, our packaging is pretty cool. We've got cool branding, and our product speaks for itself. When it comes to our target market, we've identified some of the drivers of those sales. And typically they are millennial women. They have a medium to medium high income. They live in bigger city zip codes, but ultimately they're just looking for that experience, as I mentioned earlier. And they value products and CPG brands that bring to the table quality, convenience, and a higher purpose. So to illustrate, let me introduce you to one of our personas. Meet Shelly. Shelly is a mother of two. Her youngest son has celiac disease, but she also has celiac disease. She's a working mom, she's busy, and she's always trying to provide for her family while maintaining a social life. What she really struggles with, though, is finding food options that are gluten-free, celiac safe, but also that her entire family will enjoy. So when she wanted to find delicious food that was convenient and that was celiac safe, she turned to Good Love Foods. This is what she has to say. Your biscuits are amazing. Seriously, the entire family loves them. And my son's favorite are the cinnamon rolls. Our freezer needs to be stocked at all times with Good Love Foods. So Shelly is just among a host of other customer reviews that really validates our attraction. I couldn't include all the reviews because most of the time they are filled with expletives because people literally can't believe that these are gluten-free. I left those out. But here's a few of my favorites. Truly, these can't be GF. They are so perfect that gluten-free eaters in my house beg me to eat these. Happy customer, fantastic products. By far the best cinnamon rolls and biscuits I've ever had. What voodoo is this, which I truly love. I'm not gluten-free, but would choose these over quote unquote regular ones. And these biscuits are the best. It's a dream come true. So for Good Love Foods, it has been a dream come true, but also a really, really hard struggle. We've worked a lot in the last year, and we do have some sales and some traction to share, but truly it comes down to our passion. Some of the biggest numbers that I'd like to share are that as of August, we more than doubled our sales from last year, which is a 122% growth rate, which is pretty good. And we achieved all of this while I was still finishing my MBA and only through word of mouth. In addition to our sales, some other milestones that we achieved have been building a brand. We've invested in trademarking. We have invested in equipment. We have our food manufacturer's license. We've got new material. We spent a lot on raw materials and prototyping, but I'm happy to say we've officially launched 3 products. And as of July 1st, we acquired our own production kitchen. This is 2,400 square feet and 100% gluten-free. Here's just a snapshot from some of our social channels. And I want to add this in our traction because this is where we're really building our community. Our customers love us. They tag us in their videos. They show us how they're using Good Love. They show us how versatile it is, but also it's just really, really fun to interact with people that truly love your products. For Good Love Foods, we are maintaining our trajectory. And I would say in about 15 to 18 months, we will be looking for investment. Until that time comes, this is our ask. We're looking for connections to CPG industry experts. We're looking for contacts with anyone that understands the cold chain and supply chain pain points. And really, if there's anyone else here that understands frozen food fulfillment and would love to discuss further on how we can make that a little bit more sustainable, that would be wonderful. But if anything, if you're a celiac, if you know someone who eats gluten-free, if you just want to try something that's really delicious and something new, check us out. Find us online, start following us, find us at some of our pop-ups we have coming up, and really just share how much you love our products. Also, find us downstairs and taste our products as well. So, Good Love Foods, we're on the precipice of something big. Celiac disease is never going to go away. In fact, it's only going to get worse because people are getting the tools they need to get diagnosed. But what does this mean for the market? It means that gluten-free products and celiac-safe products are needed. This is the vision of Good Love Foods. Good Love Foods is delicious food for anyone, and Good Love Foods is gluten-free for all. Thank you.
Well done. Okay, so prior to the start of our panel, we have a special guest to come join us. We're very excited. Hands down has the best shoe game on campus. I'd like to introduce Chancellor Hafner.
Thank you, Josh. That was great. I was deeply impressed, and I wish I had seen all of the pitches going forward. This is really an exciting event because entrepreneurship, what you're doing, conceiving of an idea that really fills a niche in the marketplace, getting together to design what that business model might look like, designing the product, and then actually deploying it is such a tremendous learning experience. And I'm really, really proud that we have a really robust environment to support our entrepreneurs here, because it is such a great example of the kinds of experiences that happen outside the classroom where so much learning takes place. And if you've seen me give the pitch around, my own pitch around the 4-dimensional experience, you'll know that it is to take advantage of those experiences outside the classroom to help really optimize the learning that our students takes away from the University of Denver. And it's through reflection and in the dimensions of course, intellectual curiosity in terms of preparing for lives of purpose and careers, in exploring the joys of wellness and the strength of character. And entrepreneurship, the experiences like that are perfectly suited to help support those 4 different dimensions. I'm deeply, deeply impressed around this, and I really hope to see our entrepreneurship ecosystem grow even more. So to our students who made the pitches, I wish I could have seen them all. I can only imagine they were exciting and as informative as the one that we just saw as well. Congratulations on your experiences this past summer, and of course as you move into the year. We look forward to really supporting your efforts for the months to come while you're here with the University of Denver, and then of course for a lifetime as well. So Josh, thank you so much for letting me come in, and I'll let you get on with your panel discussion right now.
Hey, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay, we are going to start the panel. So will our startups set up here? Thanks, Duncan. Okay. So John Sebesta will be moderating this panel.
All right, thank you. And again, congratulations to everybody. Great job. I'm sure you can now breathe a nice sigh of relief having completed your pitches. So first I want to start off continuing the theme of the chancellor, participating beyond the classroom. And so I want to know what intrigued you, what motivated you to give up 6 weeks of your summer, as we talked about in the application process a few months ago, I guess now. What motivated you to give up those 6 weeks, to invest those 6 weeks working on these businesses? What intrigued you about Basecamp? Chanel, can we start with you?
So as I had mentioned, I had already finished my MBA program. I started my MBA in the summer of 2020, so I took it online. Everything was really disconnected. I enjoyed the community I felt, but when this program came up, what intrigued me and motivated me most was that I got to be on campus with these amazing entrepreneurs and with so many other just happy, bright people wanting to see us succeed.
Yeah, so I mean, as you guys heard our story, there's kind of two here that it started, this business started in the classroom, and my story of a love and a passion for chai, being able to find it on the go. And when we started this in the classroom, I wanted this, I pitched the idea because it was a passion, and I quickly learned that without a $500 canner, it was not going to happen. So I went and talked to my professor, Neil Pollard, at the time, and he was just like, yeah, we can make that happen. And I was just shocked that they weren't telling me no. And I had, up to that point, no one had told us no. So when the opportunity for Basecamp came around, we had realized that DU entrepreneurship was really there to support us the entire way through. So the opportunity was there to fulfill our passion and keep chasing the dream.
Thank you. This process has been an intense one. We've tried to advertise going into it, get some sleep, get ready. We're about to hit the ground running. The whole goal has been to build momentum in your businesses. And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about some experiences that pushed you outside of your comfort zone, pushed you beyond where you felt you could be or could go, and how that's helped you to grow individually. Claire, can we start with you?
Yeah. Well, I think the better question is what didn't push me out of my comfort zone. Definitely the public speaking. That was probably the hardest part for me. But also just like the constant work. There was like no time for anything else. It was just constantly switching from one thing to the next. And it turned out really helpful and really necessary, but it wasn't comfortable.
Emily.
I think for me, it was constantly battling like internally, like am I really the right person to do this? Will other people really think that you can create this change? And so all these like athletic directors and athletic administrators that I knew from One Love, I was just avoiding reaching out to for months and months on end, because I was probably afraid of hearing no, or hearing that they didn't think my idea was good enough. So that like literally forcing me to do that outreach, I think was one of the most challenging things. And ideally, like I think probably one of the most helpful things, and the thing that's going to help me grow the most moving forward.
Was it as scary as you expected?
No, not at all. No, they're all very kind.
Amazing how nice people are. I would say people are people all around the world. Just reach out. Most of them are pretty willing to talk. So we heard a little bit about it in some of your presentations about how you've ebbed and flowed, and throughout the process, we've emphasized a build, measure, learn of try something, get out there, test it, see what people are saying, and then implement and adapt as necessary. Can you talk a little bit about how you've pivoted, how your business has adapted throughout this process, and just how you've made those decisions, how data's been a part of that decision? And yeah, Evan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, like you guys heard, we started with bean bags and then realized, it takes a lot to ship a 40-pound block. And they felt like you were carrying a dead body. So definitely informative. Just getting market research really helped with that pivot. And after I made it, I felt like it was like free sailing. It felt a lot better, and I'm really glad I made it.
All right, go ahead, Julianne.
One of the pivots that happened was setting a goal at the end of base camp that I would launch one of these ceramic pop-ups with just as many resources that everyone else in the ceramic community has here in Denver. So it was really those limiting resources that pushed myself to be a lot more innovative with what I had. And I toyed with the idea of having a food truck model for ceramic pop-up store. And I still want to move forward with that, but in 6 weeks, it's just not very attainable. So really identifying what's possible with as few resources as you have.
Constraints are a powerful motivator. So figuring out how to keep moving. Yeah, Andrew.
So Jason and I went into this and we were like, oh, it's a drink. How hard can it be? It's going to be a lot of fun to make. And so we were like, well, we'll make it ourselves. We'll go find a kitchen. It'll be fun. We didn't pivot so much in what our product was, but we pivoted a lot in the way that we thought about producing our product. We learned pretty quickly that we weren't going to be making this ourselves. So we would drive ourselves into the ground if we ended up doing that. And so I think a lot of what we learned was, well, if we're going to need to make something like this, we're going to need to rely on other sources outside people. And so we really just learned that the real world moves really, really slow unless you're standing there going, come on, I need your help. Come help me out. I'm looking for service. I will pay you. Come on, I need your help. So I think Jason and I started with that naive mindset and really just pivoted to well, nothing's as easy as it seems, but it can be made easy and it can absolutely be done no matter what it is.
The devil is usually in the details. Tell us a little bit about, you mentioned relying on others and leaning on others. Tell us a little bit about that process for you and expanding your network and how that's helped you understand the system and make some adjustments, make some tweaks in your operations.
Yeah, so I'll start off by crediting Jason. He's an amazing networker, definitely better than I am. I've learned a lot from him over the last 6 weeks, but two of those people who we've relied on are in this room, Colin and Zach. They own New Range Coffee. They've given us a lot of insight into how they did their work and produced their coffee drinks, their cold brews that are canned, very similar to our product. And so that was one example of just kind of being able to hear somebody out and learn how they do something. And then they've been so gracious as to extend a little bit of consulting and mentorship to us. So we thank you guys for that. But beyond that, we've also reached out to people who own coffee shops. We've reached out to other folks who own CPG beverage brands. And so just reaching out, sending an email, asking one person to reach out to another for you is so, so important in doing business. I think it's really helped us accelerate our journey more than a lot of other things have.
Yeah, I'll just really quickly add, I know that we also have a mentor in Daniel Zuck right here, who we've employed as like our overall, like, keep us in the right lane as a overall guidance in our business. And that has just been extremely helpful as well. Really, Basecamp pushed us to network, and, networking through Colin and Zach and through Dan, we've continued to find more and more people. And we also just keep coming back to the fact that there are also tons and tons and tons of DU alums in this city that are willing to help. They're everywhere.
Yep, absolutely. So I want to continue on the theme of working with others and that network effect and how we can all support one another. But shift the focus into this group. So you're the first cohort of Basecamp, and we're very excited about that. And we hope that extends well beyond today, well beyond these 6 weeks that you've been together. And so I would like to hear a little bit about how this cohort has helped you through this process. Like Claire mentioned, it's been nonstop since you started, constantly running, and everybody has different skill sets. And so how have you come together and supported one another? Chanel, can we start with you again?
Well, I think for me, again, I just really was craving working within a group dynamic. And by the second week, I wanted to offer more than just, be someone that's pitching and getting feedback. I wanted to be able to provide any resources that I could. So I started actively really researching or looking into ways that I could help anyone else because I would want it from them. And I think that's just how you help people grow. It's just being able to, even if you don't think something could help them, maybe it could, and passing on a little bit of advice or a name or a thought. Evan was awesome. I think he dropped so many like mind-blowing ideas during this whole process. So I think just learning from each other and having those really amazing light bulb moments together.
Thanks, and I love that give first mentality of how can I help people? Like a lot of teams have been working on pricing. Is it daunting, and the finances are a daunting thing? And I remember you coming in and presenting your pricing structure and how you're thinking about all that, and everybody just, whoa. So it's been really cool to see. Jason, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we originally pitched and interviewed, something I stressed was this kind of my idea for the summer was built DU. And, I still think this is something that we as entrepreneurs at DU and entrepreneurship is continue to build out a overall cohort of startups started at DU built through entrepreneurship. But the biggest thing I think that me and Andrew learned through all the people that helped us and that have provided us with so much insight and industry insight that we could not have found on our own is just to pay it forward. So, I mean, we've been paying it forward to everybody in this group. And I mean, like Chanel just said, you've got to pay it forward because without the help, and I think entrepreneurs have a little trouble asking for help, but without help, you'll never make it. So that's kind of been the philosophy we've been going on.
Have we trademarked Built DU yet? Got to work on that. All right, you want to jump in, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, you just don't do anything alone. And so when you have somebody to come lean on and look at and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, do you have ideas? It's amazing. It's amazing to have those ideas. I know when we all sit as a group, every single one of us will present something. And then there's the other 6 of us that are sitting there like, oh my God, what if you did this? What if you did that? No one person can come up with all of those amazing ideas. So having people to share your ideas about their business with is so much fun.
Claire?
Yeah, it has been so amazing to be working with everyone here. I've been so inspired, and I love the idea sharing that everyone was talking about. I would have never thought of so many ideas, so many creative things that people have added to Illegal Oats. And I hope that everyone knows that you all touched and helped Illegal Oats grow.
Awesome. Sure, we'll take this one around.
Cool. Brains are different. Everybody's good at different stuff. To sit there and like be ignorant and act like you could do everything is just silly. And I feel like when you're working alone on a business or really anything in life, it's easy to fall into those habits. So being like forced to be, or not forced, maybe at the beginning, but after a while, it was awesome. We just got to come
applied,
together.
just as a reminder.
Yeah, right. Sure. Yeah, but just feedback from everybody and seeing other people's viewpoints. I feel like everyone up here is at a different place in their life, and that definitely bred a very good, situation for ideas to fly around. So yeah, thank you guys.
One of the best parts about being with this cohort is you from the outside can identify that this entrepreneur is struggling a lot, and any particular week they're in that kind of down trough, and to see everyone so excited in the brainstorming sessions, you're just like, you've overflowing with ideas and the potential that each one of us has. And that is the best part about being a part of this cohort to lift each other up.
As an entrepreneur, there's always those low seasons. It can be a lonely process, especially a solo entrepreneur. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, no, I think, repeat what everyone else has said about like having community and people to lean on and throw ideas around with. Yeah, and I've mostly just been inspired, like especially you all in the middle. Like I would have never thought to do this at such a young age, and as you are, and the confidence and how you carry yourselves, and like the creative ideas that you have are just like so cool to be around. They inspire me.
It's been fun to watch the grad undergrad interplay of energy and professionalism and the way that everybody has lifted each other up, and it's been rising tide lifting all boats. So that's been really fun to see. I want to shift a little bit to your businesses, and so one of the things that's throughout these 6 weeks we've talked about is balancing working on your business versus working in your business. And so specifically for those of you that came into this with businesses, with sales, how have you managed that throughout the 6 weeks, and how has your strategy around that changed as you look forward? So Claire, we'll jump over to you.
Wow. Well, managing it is a strong word for what's happened in the past 6 weeks. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was difficult. It was a really difficult balance between, cooking for the farmers market every weekend. It takes me like 3 to 4 hours per flavor for meeting the demand at the farmers market, and keeping up with like trying to track finances and everything going on, while still not having like all the skills to do that. So now, now that I've gotten a chance to, well, now that I was forced to work.
You also applied.
Yeah, I didn't realize how necessary like working on your business is as opposed to working in it.
Cool. Chanel.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for punishment. So as much as I can put myself into my business and run production and manufacture, I will. So this was a really big test for me. And ultimately it paid off. Shout out to my mentor, Justin, who also provided a lot of that insight about just how to balance, feeling like you need to physically touch and make your product in quality control versus, well, I do need to do that, but also I need to scale my business, and I'm only going to get there if I work on the business versus in the business. And so that was a critical like learning stage for me. It's a daily struggle actually. So if I could just get down and like sling dough all day, I would.
Yeah, the baking, that love of food draws you back to the kitchen, but which we're thankful for because it's produced some awesome stuff. For those of you that's entered in the idea phase, completely different situation of you came in with a vision, with a concept, without really knowing if there was a market for you, and so we know Evan how your idea has shifted from bean bags to dog bags, and so I want to hear a little bit about the process of refinement and how that has gone, and how you've again used data and used talking to people to go through that process. Sure, Julianne, we'll start with you.
One of the biggest discoveries I had were through interviews with artists, and I saw things I thought I would never see. Speaking to artists and gallery owners through Santa Fe Art Walk or on Rhino First Friday. And that is where I realized how big this problem really is through the Denver artist community and spilling even beyond that. So honing in this idea and sharing it with non-creatives that I didn't ever really think would be that interested in ceramics has been amazing to see. People really enjoy such a simple old school thing such as ceramics.
Yeah, if we're talking about data, I did a survey. I had multiple different people, friends of mine who lived in different states, put a survey up on their story, and I reached, close to 120 people with it. And one of the questions was about price. And it was like, have you bought a beanbag before? If so, how much did you pay? And when a majority was between $20 and $50, I was like, okay, because that's what shipping costs for this. So that's not going to work. So yeah, I don't know, just simple stuff like that. When you look at the numbers and you're just like, well, this can't happen the way it is, you have to change directions.
Cool. Emily?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just walked in with a vision. So through, collecting like survey data to see that athletes are basically iterating what I thought they would, and talking to athletic administrators and hearing over and over again that they see the need for this, was really validating, as well as, actually getting out there and finally doing a pilot. I think that was the thing I was most looking forward to, and the part that makes me want to like keep going.
What has surprised you the most in the last 6 weeks? Anybody? Jason?
I know we've all like kind of talked about the struggle a little bit and that this has been a lot, but what surprised me is the most is how quickly we networked and how quickly our business evolved. I think we'd stood in reference to where we are, I'd say we'd still be in the Stone Age if we didn't have the accelerator 6 weeks ago. So I think that that's been huge for us. I mean, we maybe haven't like found that co-packer that is essential to us, but we have learned what we need and how this thing needs to run. Invaluable information. So that's been the biggest surprise, is how quickly we were able to move on all that.
I was just have to say that Jason and I are the only two co-founders up here. And I grew up with a brother. We kind of butted heads every now and then. We're best friends now. But I just know when you work really closely or spend a lot of time with someone, you end up butting heads. And I've been really surprised at the way that we've matched our work ethic and the way that we've been working together as co-founders. It was very coincidental that we just found each other in a class. And oftentimes you start a class project and you don't really love your group that you're working with or whatever. And so this just really worked out super well. I know throughout the 6 weeks of base camp, we've had some industry experts or entrepreneurs themselves say it's really hard to have a co-founder. It's a lot of work to do that relational maintenance along with all of the business that you have to do. And so I've been extremely surprised that Jason and I haven't really hit that roadblock yet. I know we're both anticipating it at some point, but that's been a huge surprise for me.
It will come. Working with co-founders is always an interesting dilemma and interesting challenge, but a great thing to be able to lift one another up and keep each other going throughout that process. I want to ask about, throughout this process, we got out into the community. So we're on campus most of the time here, bringing in guest speakers, but we also were able to get out and go talk to some of the some DU alums and some other businesses. Can you talk a little bit about how those experiences kind of helped you to grow and helped you to think about your businesses?
Well, for me, actually, what impacted my businesses the most were the visitors, the speakers who came and also added so many ideas. Like, I completely changed my long-term plan with someone who came in. They said this would be great for like just mealworm powder and sell it to snack companies and like different people. And so I think that, I mean, that was really helpful, meeting those people who took the time to sit down, understand your business, and find a way to make you more successful.
Chanel?
I loved all of our offsites and learning from the entrepreneurs we met, because they didn't hold back. They faced struggles, and they might be in their third year, their fourth year, their fifth year or beyond, but they're still saying they're pitching. They're still saying they get however many no's. They still say they're passionate, but that they're working to, through to their vision. So I think that was the biggest takeaway. But also just being able to get their energy, to feel like you can do it too. And for them to not think your idea was silly or put you down. They were just like, awesome, go get it. Like, you can do this too.
Yeah, it's a powerful ecosystem. Andrew?
I think what I really learned is that this city is my playground. We got to go out and see how people impact others here. And it just made me so much more excited to be an entrepreneur and impact people myself. And so whether we were visiting people who owned businesses, learning about their businesses, visiting incubator labs or incubator programs similar to this base camp for professionals, it was really cool to just see how people impact others. But then there was also gathering traction. There were days where Jason and I were like walking around and disturbing people at farmers markets, like, hey, I'm going to ask you a couple really quick questions. Will you answer these for me? And never once did we get a no. So I think that it just made the city of Denver, maybe the state, maybe the country feel much more inviting to somebody with such fun ideas.
That's awesome. Again, people are amazing. Just get out there. People are excited to talk, especially coming out of COVID. So yeah, don't hesitate. Get out. Find those people that are going to support you and keep pushing you forward. So now that we're here at the final day of base camp, how are you going to continue this momentum? This process has been all about injecting momentum into your businesses. And so talk a little bit about how you have built momentum over these last 6 weeks and how you're going to maintain that going forward. Julianne, can we start with you?
So as far as building momentum, it was crucial to have those constraints and really figure out what moving forward looked like for a ceramic studio that didn't have a home base. Moving forward, it is a lot of continuation of networking, and the exposure to the arts and cultural communities here in Denver were essential for me. Realizing how many grants are being issued through the community and injecting those communities as well. Moving forward, in addition to that, it will be primarily setting those long-term goals and those stretch goals and ultimately working backwards from here and seeing the people at each event and how much they enjoy it. And then speaking with the artist afterwards and how much they need this is really building my momentum.
Awesome. Actually getting out to interact with your customers and seeing the joy in their face, seeing that validation. Emily.
Yeah, I think Basecamp, forced me to start talking about this more out loud and to people who matter, not just people in the DU business community, but to athletic administrators and coaches and athletes. And yeah, I got a lot more yeses than I think I would have. So now I have a lot of work to follow up on.
And how are you going to do that?
Yeah, I mean, project timeline, I guess, is the real next step, right? I have a few pilots to schedule and figure out how to manage along with school and everything else and coaching. So it's mostly just sitting down, figuring out how to manage my time and following up on every single lead that I've gotten over Basecamp is the real next step for me.
Yeah. And so for both of you, when you entered this, you've got another year of your MBA programs ahead of you. When you started Basecamp, what did you think that June of 2023 looked like? And has that changed throughout this process?
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't think that June of 2023 would ever be me running my own business. And I guess it's changed a little. I think I figured out exactly what I would need to do. Like if I get 4 schools to pay $25,000 to work with me for a year, that's something I can do in real life. So that's exciting.
Julianne?
Similar to Emily, it's that unit economics and how much do I actually have to produce and get involved with to make a living. And again, coming back to those constraints, how do I do that with limited resources and skyrocket rent prices right now and not being able to get into a warehouse and still make it happen?
Notice nobody was up here asking for funding. And so everybody's still figuring out how to deal within those constraints and continue to expand and to grow. Evan, did you want to jump in?
Well, you're saying that no one's asking for funding. If anyone wants to give funding, I just want to we're probably all open to it. And just saying, don't take that off the table.
I can add to that. I think that what Basecamp has done, along with the resources that we've had access to over the last 6 weeks, is taught us how to find a next step. You never know what the next step is. And so figuring out how to learn what the next step is really important. And so I think Jason and I run a very kind of one step at a time kind of thing. There's always more things going on in the background, but you've got to make sure you do one thing well before you go to the next thing. And so I think knowing what that next step is, having the skills to learn and then know what it is and enact that next step is what Basecamp has really done and what will move our business forward. So
Thanks. I love that. And yeah, it's that critical thinking and the ability to problem solve, to figure out how to keep moving forward, that we can give you some tools, we can teach you some tricks and some give you a network or help start that network, but it is that ability to keep finding that next step that's going to continue to push you forward and continue to make you successful. So now I'd like to hear, how was your perception of entrepreneurship? Like you mentioned, Emily, earlier, of never dream of starting your own business at this point, never dreamed that in June of 2023, you could be really running your own company. How has your perception of entrepreneurship shifted throughout this process? And here, start with Jason.
Oh man. I definitely was naive going into this. Like I think we said earlier, thinking that we could just go out and make this ourselves, which we could for a time, but I think we didn't think that point where we were going to scale was going to get to us as quickly. And now it's a good thing that we're at this point now where we're ready to scale. So I think the way my perception of entrepreneurship has changed is I'm a more mature entrepreneur. I'm more excited about the future because it feels a little bit like now that we're going from the kiddies lemonade stand on the corner to starting to be one of the big players or trying to be the big players in the industry. So I think that's kind of how my perception has changed, knowing that I can do what I'm doing, like having that confidence, I'd say.
Chanel?
Well, for me, Basecamp ending, I'm actually really scared because now my MBA is over. Then I started this program, still, running the business, but now I'm like, go be free. And so for me, I think it's just dealing with the imposter syndrome, which I think Basecamp really helped with, and just validating you as an entrepreneur. You have a valid idea, and if you do the work and you do these things, you build your network and you have people that support you, you should never doubt yourself. So for me, moving forward, I know that I have a really strong support system, but also now I've kind of got that pitch bug. So I'm ready to go out into the world and start pitching. And so after more practice, but yes, I will go.
And where will you be pitching in the near future?
Yes, hopefully. Well, yeah, ideally Trout Tank, which is during Denver Startup Week on August 21st. So September 21st, excuse me.
Yes, congratulations.
Yes.
Chanel was accepted to Trout Tank and will be presenting or pitching there at Denver Startup Week in just a few weeks. So very excited about that. Claire?
Yeah, wow. I love Jason's analogy of like being in the kiddie pool. I feel like we're off to the open ocean now. Yeah, it's a lot scarier. Like I do feel that validation as a real entrepreneur, but part of being what a real entrepreneur is there's so much to it. And it's like so scary and can be lonely at times. So like, I'm just now after this incubator, I'm thinking, wow, now I have to like go out and do that myself. I don't have like my cohort with me every day or my professors with me every day pushing me. It's getting real now.
Yep, it's getting real, but also you're not stepping out into that big blue ocean alone. You definitely still have your cohort, you still have your professors, you still have the support system of Built DU once we trademark that. So we'll be here to continue to support you. So at this point, unless anybody else wants to jump in on that last one, I think we're gonna. You want to jump in?
yeah, I can jump in really fast. All right. I just want to mention this because I have a little bit different background. My parents are both entrepreneurs and they've had a plethora of different businesses. They've gone from one to the other, seen some struggle and some really succeed. And so I think I went in knowing that there is a lot of complexity around this. But most of all, I really learned over Basecamp and in the last couple of years, learning from my parents is that as the entrepreneur, you get to add fun to this world. You get to be the driver of change and fun. I mean, I am always asked, oh, what do you want to do when you're older? Da, 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 da. Some friends are like, really, you want to be an entrepreneur? Why don't you just go get a job? It's guaranteed pay. And I'm like, really, you want me to sit at a desk? There's no way I could ever do that. There's way more fun you can have out there. And I think that's really the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Yep. Amen. You're all getting out and creating new value in the world, which is an incredible thing. And it is the driver of our economic engine and the driver of new innovation in the world. And so we're excited to support you in that process. We're grateful for the time and energy that you've put into Basecamp over these last 6 weeks. It's been an absolute joy for myself and for the other professors to walk alongside you, and I'm sure all the guest speakers. And so we have a little thank you that we'd like to offer. And again, thank you all for joining. And I think, Joshua, you've got a few remarks.
Yeah, we'll close this up, but we want to give our startups each a little gift. This is a little certificate of completion, and also the steel vest with our entrepreneurship at DU to show that you are the first Basecamp cohort at the University of Denver. So, and just in closing, we have a reception downstairs. Please come join us to celebrate and get a chance to speak with all of these founders. And there is the opportunity to taste some of the different products that they've created. So first of all, thank you all for coming. I truly appreciate it. But also let's give these group a warm round of applause. And founders, please head downstairs and we'll meet you down there. Thank you all.